Are you a hard-working entrepreneur who wants to grow your business without sacrificing your marriage? You have come to the right place. Welcome to the Business of Marriage with your host, Dino Watt.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Business of Marriage, marriage advice for entrepreneurs. I'm very excited for our guest today. Chris Miles is going to blow our mind, right, Chris?
Blow it. Yep.
With his money experience,
blow it, but I
and
don't
then
know
and to keep him in check, we obviously brought along his beautiful wife, Lindsey. Now, Lindsey, how you doing?
Doing great.
Awesome. Great to have you guys here. Now, Chris Miles is the cash flow expert, and he's a leading authority on how to quickly free up and create cash flow for thousands of his clients. And I personally, in full disclosure, have heard from many people that I know. We run some close circles, and he does some amazing job at what he does. He's an author and a radio host, and has been featured in U.S. News, CNN Money, Bankrate, and weren't you just yesterday quoted in something else? What were you quoted in yesterday? I saw the article.
Yeah,
Bank of America. Bank of America. Awesome. That is great. And he's spoken to thousands internationally, getting them fast financial results. Now, Chris, we're going to let you talk a little bit more about your background and all that fun stuff. But really, let's get to why we're all here. It's all about your relationship, because really, if your business is, if your marriage is not doing well and it's strong, you can't be as productive, positive, and passionate about your business. It's just a fact. So why don't you guys give us a quick intro about yourself by telling us how you met, and you can both give us your sides of the story, because I'm sure they're different, and how long you've been married and all that fun stuff about you.
Go ahead, Chris.
All right. This is how it usually goes in our marriage. She's like, you tell the story. So we've been married for about 12 years. It'll be 12 years about now.
Next week.
Yeah. So 12 years. We're having our anniversary right about now. We have 5 kids, 10 and under. You know, as Jason Hewlett would say, you like to get her done, right? So definitely we've done that. We live here in just south of Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm originally from Oregon. She's born and raised in the metropolis of Provo, Utah. So
Metropolis.
Yep. And how we met? We actually met on the dance floor.
Yep.
So we actually met in college my senior year, her freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
We were ballroom dance competition partners. So if you've seen like Dancing with the Stars, that kind of stuff, we were doing that together, and I did that for a year, and then we started dating and stopped dancing.
Yep.
You started dating and stopped dancing.
Kind of get out of our system, you know.
That's awesome. Would you say that story is about right, Lindsey?
That is actually right.
Pretty right on.
Yep.
All right. So, what was the moment that you both went, "Oh yeah, I'm marrying this person"?
You go first.
Which moment? There's a couple moments.
Okay.
Said to marry me.
The
right?
one that sealed the deal.
That sealed the deal.
Uh-huh.
We were actually subbing for one of his roommates, teaching a ballroom dance class in the evening, and afterward we were just kind of playing around, and he literally just swept me off my feet. We were doing a foxtrot around the floor, and I'm like, yeah, this is it.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's earlier than me.
Can't admit it to you.
That was really early. We were dating like a month by that point?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, for me, what sealed the deal? I think the fact she survived my family kind of definitely made sure that if she could survive them, she could survive anything.
Good barometer. Like you can deal with my parents. All right, you're a winner.
Right.
That's awesome. Well, very good. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about what you both do. Tell us a little bit about Money Ripples, how you guys started that and created that, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Money Ripples, it was kind of a relaunch for me. I did that about a little over a year and a half ago. I had founded another company previously, did that for about 6 years, and then we broke off. You know, we went our separate ways and relaunched as Money Ripples about a year and a half ago, and just been fun ever since.
Nice. And Lindsey, what is your role in the business?
In the business, trying to keep the kids quiet usually so he can do recordings. So
Nice.
You'll probably hear a little bit of banging and noise
That's
outside
okay.
right now.
Is there a 6-year-old yelling down the vent, "I hear you guys"?
that could be good in some situations and not so good in others. So
You see me get up like I'm gonna beat somebody up, you'll know why.
That's okay. You're frozen right now, so it's all right. We'll get
good.
we'll get you. We'll make sure we freeze you right before that happens. And I think as entrepreneurs, all of us, all the listeners can understand that, especially when you're working at home, especially when you got little kids, the interrupted time, the times when exactly when you don't need them to say something. Of course, Murphy's Law, they're going to say something. We've all had that. You know what? It just makes it more real. So if that happens here on this recording, you know what? Bring it on, because everybody can relate. So that's awesome. So one of my the way I like to start off the show is that I believe very heavily in the idea that man plans and God laughs. So
yeah, that's the truth.
Tell us, what was one situation where you planned and God said, well, just a moment there, not so much?
I know he did it with the spacing of our children. We have, between our second and third, there's 14 months. Nice. And we were
planning for every 2 to 3 years. And
2 to 3 years. And
we had 4 kids in 5 years, the first 4 of those 5 in 5 years. So
yeah.
They just came running.
Hey, I feel you there. We had the 3 under 3.
Yeah.
And when Shannon went into her 6-week checkup, it's like her 8-week checkup or something like that, to get her IUD checked up, like she already had it in. They're like, you're pregnant. And she's like, I can't be.
And God goes, ha ha.
He was like, have fun with that one. So we actually just celebrated our youngest 2. They're 14 and 15. So they're a year and a week exactly apart.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like ours, 14 months to the day.
Yeah. Sometimes I still feel like I'm paying for that sometimes. So yeah. Awesome. That's good. Is there another story you have, Chris?
Well, that's definitely a big one. I think the plan is relaunching Money Ripples. I mean, it was one of those things that it did come. You know, it was one of those things that I had an impression that it might happen, but I thought like, oh, it won't happen. Not really. And so.
See, there we go. There's one of the entrances.
There we go. Say hello to our 6-year-old. You shut the door, buddy.
What?
Speaking of unplanned things.
Right. Yeah.
We won't tell him that though.
Shh. You guys got to remember, you got
a schedule.
The key to keeping kids out of your space is bungee cords and a box of cereal in the middle of the floor, right? So.
Yeah, actually, I have stories about that.
I think if you're a married entrepreneur, I bet everyone has a story about that. It's like, all right, what's the movie that they haven't seen in forever that will sit and make them watch it for an hour? That's awesome.
Finding Nemo.
Nice, good movie. All right. So let's get down to it, guys. What's the toughest part about being married as or to an entrepreneur?
I have to say it's trying to consistently stay positive and uplifting, and trying to always be there encouraging instead of wanting to smack them upside the head sometimes.
What? That never happens.
Never.
Okay, good. So really trying to stay grounded and focused so you can be as positive as you can be. And why do you think that's important? Give us an example. Like, bring us down to a moment where you can remember having to do that, and just it took a lot of will to stay as positive as you could be.
I have lots of stories wherein I wasn't as positive as I should have been.
Uh-huh.
But it's just challenging when sometimes, you know, money doesn't come as consistently as you're hoping, and just planning ahead. And I'm a planner, and that doesn't necessarily always flow into exactly having things unpredictable sometimes. But striving really hard to always be positive that way, and in every situation.
Right.
Being creative.
Okay. Is there a specific time you can tell us about so that the listeners can be like, oh yeah, I can totally relate to that specifically?
Well, you've got plenty.
I have plenty.
Pick one.
Remember one?
Pick one.
Pick one. Well, sometimes there's been times when, in years past, where food hasn't all been there, and all of a sudden Chris comes home and he goes, we have, 10, 12 people coming over for dinner. And I'm like, okay, let me get creative. And so I've learned to make a lot of breads and bake a lot from scratch.
Wow, the surprise dinner moment.
Yeah.
It's okay though. We mowed the lawn, made bread out of it. It was
It
perfect.
Not quite
was a
that
wheatgrass
creative.
bread. It was delicious.
Very
Yeah.
healthy.
That's awesome. Chris, what about you? What's the toughest part about being an entrepreneur who's married, who has to provide for a family, who has to make his wife happy, who has to bring in an income when sometimes there's no income to be brought in at that moment? What's the toughest part?
I think you just mentioned it all right there.
Mm.
It's that balance. Trying to be successful in a business, especially when I relaunched and had to start from scratch, really from
Mm.
ground zero, having to do that, but still have time for Lindsey and try to have our date nights from time to time, and and be able to have time for the kids because we do late nights with each of the kids too, and it's exhausting. Like it really is. Really, it can be really taxing on you.
That's so true, and I think everybody listening can totally understand that. It's a roller coaster ride. Being an entrepreneur it sounds sexy and exciting when you're looking at it from the outside. I just went to an event this weekend where I took a friend of mine who's a banker who has a very solid, job where he although he controls about $750 million a month, he is making his salary and he gets some commission off of it, but he sees what I do. He's like, man, you have so much freedom. It must be so great. And this weekend was a little bit of a baptism by fire of him understanding it's not always, pixies and roses, right?
Yeah.
So it's that balance, finding that balance. Awesome. So tell me this. What was the biggest lie that you were told or believed about marriage?
Hmm. I don't know. This is my second go around, so maybe I got rid of my lies with the first wife. I don't know. Now, what would you say?
I think one of my biggest strengths, our first year of marriage, because it's all just a big, huge adjustment going from just being a single person to being a couple. But the biggest encouragement I had was Sister Marjorie Pay Hinckley. She has a quote saying that she cried every day the first year of their marriage.
Wow.
And their marriage is amazing, obviously, and so that always gave me strength and hope to keep going through. It has to get better after the first year.
Right.
I make
Wow.
people cry a lot, apparently.
No.
It's a lot of tears shed.
That's
It's once again part of being an entrepreneur. It's interesting, how, like you said, you did it one day at a time, right? You just said, okay, I'm going to do this. Even if I'm going to cry every day, I'm going to just take it through it. So somebody on a recent call said that their biggest lie was that love conquers all. And they're like, that's not true. It doesn't. Now, it's nice to have love in every space, but like what you were just saying, it's like sometimes you do have to grin and bear it. Sometimes you just have to realize that the end goal is the most important, and right now is going to pass. This
Yeah.
too shall pass, right?
I
So,
think I think for me, the biggest lie was, well, one that I think is just, for us at least, as a total lie, is don't go to bed angry.
Yeah.
We're like, no, go to bed angry. We'll
Go to
feel
bed
better in
angry.
the morning.
I know.
oh, that's so good. We actually talk about that in our programs that, like, you know what? Sometimes you just need to have that space. You need to let your brain resolve it. It's not worth staying up till 2 in the morning, because the more tired you get, the more dumb you get, and the worse the fight's gonna get. So very good good advice there. Well,
Yeah.
what's your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
I think my favorite part is what's mentioned. It's the flip side of the coin of the downside of entrepreneurship, right? The downside could be the added responsibility, but the flip side of that coin is the freedom that comes with it. Because there's no freedom without responsibility. And I think that's the thing I love about being an entrepreneur. I love having control. I love being able to feel like I'm in control of my own destiny, in that sense, that I don't feel like there's someone else that's going to be dictating how my life's going to be. I can determine how I want it to be. I can determine how I want my life to be. There's definitely a lot of responsibility with that, a lot of discipline that's required. But I think that's the best part of being an entrepreneur, is that I've got that freedom and I have that control.
All right, Lindsay, what's the best part of being married to an entrepreneur?
I have to say the freedom, because you are able to, every once in a while he'll come out and he'll just be playing with the kids, playing football out back now. No, he's just playing with the kids out back, or he'll like help me change some laundry, or he'll be able to rock the toddler to sleep. And it's really great, and we can have small little conversations throughout the day.
So that access to each other, that being able to kind of write your own schedule, write your own time when needed. And sure, there are times where, it gets in the way, but for the most part, being able to just really choose how you're going to spend your time. That's
Yep.
powerful. That's powerful. So then, obviously, you're both in one way or another, you're in the business together, whether it be because of the results of the business or the actual doing the day-to-day stuff, right? You're in it together. So what process do you both undertake to make decisions about the business?
That's a great question. You don't get a whole lot of say in my business.
I don't, but I do. He runs a lot of things by me. He talks through things, and usually I'm fine with everything. I will vocalize an objection here or there, but I know that what he's doing is he's doing all the research, he's doing all the studying, and so I put a lot of faith and trust in him.
So then that brings up the question of, if you vocalize what you think, maybe you hear him talking about something and you're able to just take on the position of the potential client or whatever, and you vocalize it and he doesn't take your advice.
I just get used to that.
Just part of the course, huh?
Yeah. So
then, Chris, as the entrepreneur, how do you go about deciding whether you're going to take the advice or not?
I always listen to it. There's no doubt, because there's a lot of times that she's right. She's just right a lot faster than I am sometimes. And there's a lot of times I say, okay, I think that's more your emotion speaking, but I have this gut feeling that just this is the path I need to take. Get out of my way.
Yeah.
I hope you come along with me, but
right.
But this is I know this is right, and so when I know something is right, like deep down, I'll veto her for sure. I understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, it's like, no, I've got to go this direction, and that's always worked out.
It has.
Which is the path of being a true entrepreneur, right? When everyone's telling you it's wrong, whether it be your wife, whether it be your mom or dad, whether it be your kids, whether it be the friends, sometimes you just have to go with your gut. Sometimes you just have to go with what you know because you put the time, energy, and blood, sweat, and tears into it. And the power of that is that you also know the moment you take on that decision, you also take on the responsibility. So if it doesn't turn out right, if it turns out that everybody else was right, at least you can say you followed your gut and you move forward. So when you have those moments, and I don't know about you, but I think we all have, where you have said, we're moving forward no matter what, storm the castle, and it didn't work out. How did you overcome that?
I think that's more for you. Question for you, right?
A lot of it goes both ways. Both of us have done that. Making the decision to really just be their companion, love them through good and bad, everything. That's what we're here for. Go through the adventures.
Yeah.
With them. And have a lot of fun with it.
Now, Chris, you said that's her thing. I would love getting her Lindsey's perspective on it, but really, you're the one who has to deal with I was wrong. And it's hard for us entrepreneurs to admit we're wrong sometimes. I mean, forget that we're men, right? Sometimes, or it's hard for anybody to forget they're wrong. But how did you admit you're wrong?
I thought I made a mistake once, but I was wrong.
It's never happened. You don't know. You know what? This concept is alien to you.
Every day's a new day, right? I think I don't know. It's hard to. There's times that I don't know if I ever consider like a wrong decision. I definitely know that there's mistakes I learn from. So I guess if I learn from them, it's not really for me a wrong decision.
Sure.
As long as I don't keep repeating it, right?
Right.
The hard thing is to be able to say you're right for sure. Be able to say, maybe I should have listened. But I don't know. Like for me, the course of the adventure is part of the whole thing. That's what you got to do. And so I don't know. Like it's kind of a different situation for me, I guess.
Awesome. Very good. Okay, so what's your must live by tip when it comes to intersecting the business and your marriage? What's the must live by tip that our listeners can get from you?
I would say really plan your work around your life, not the other way around. When you keep planning it where like you have your work right here and just trying to fit your family and everything else in, it seems like things tend to fall apart more when you don't have that priority. When you try to get your life in and then plan the work around that more, makes it a lot better. And I think that's why, we have like our our little Sunday get together, our meeting where we discuss everything and get on the same page and that sort of thing.
Your
That's
marriage
my
mastermind.
organization.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. The marriage mastermind is so key to get together, figure it out. Look, if you're going to run your business smart, you are going to continually do that with yourself. And if you have employees, you're going to do that as well. You're also need to do that in your relationship to where you sit down with each other, what's going on, everything from the schedule to the finances to how you doing, type stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that is powerful. So the must live by tip, everybody, I want you to take away is have that time where you get together. And, Chris gave another really great point. Stephen Covey's idea, right, of put the stones in first and then let all the other stuff follow around it. And it fits better. Too often we try to put the sand in and then put those stones on top, and it's just not going to work. So powerful stuff. Good job. All right. So what do you do to keep the romance alive?
We flirt.
Nice.
We
You
flirt a lot.
flirt with one another. Good.
That's the good news of coming out for lunch, coming out from the office.
You get to flirt a bit.
I think date nights help a little bit too, just getting away from the kids, because she's one of those people, like she's more of a morning glory, definitely not a night owl at all. I'm more the night owl.
Nice.
And so half the time it's like, hey honey, and then wake up. It's not very romantic when she's there, drooling on her pillow, Wait, that's probably more me actually. But yeah, I think that's the key, is just trying to, find that time for each other. It's really tough sometimes, especially
Right.
with 5 kids and a business and, church responsibilities, you name it. There's a lot to try to squeeze in, but
Sure.
yeah.
Wow, very good. Okay. So now we've come to a place where I'm going to ask you some not so random questions that are just going to be pretty kind of spitfire questions, and you can answer them any way you choose, but we're just going to be super focused. Are we ready?
Okay.
Ready.
All right. If you two were a brand, like if you were a McDonald's or whatever, a certain brand about the two of you, if people were to look at you and go, oh yeah, that's totally the Miles, what would your brand be and what would your slogan be?
Ooh,
Hmm.
that's a good one. Our brand.
I don't know. Elvis and Costello? Beavis and Butthead, maybe?
No,
So
Wow.
the best, pairs of our generation,
not quite. No,
Um,
brand. Like a brand from a show, like an already there brand.
Yeah. So like, do people look at you and go like, oh man, they're so totally the love couple, or man, they're the Ken and Barbie, or they're the always angry couple. We hope not that one. Or they're the inspiring couple, or they're the trying to achieve more couple, or they're the entrepreneur couple. What do you think people think of you when they look at you? What would you want them to?
I think it's like an episode of Psych, personally.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know if you ever watched Psych or not. If not, everybody should, for sure.
They're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, where I'm more like the guy that's kind of more the spontaneous, just kind of fly by the seat of your pants, and she's more the, okay, let's think about this a little bit, you idiot. It's kind of like that. Like, yeah, I always joke with people, I'm like, yeah, she's the one that legitimizes me. Like, people meet her and they say, Chris, I actually like you better. And oh my gosh, Lindsey, you are so patient to be with him.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Nice.
Like sounds about right.
All right, so they're the psych couple. All
I'm
right.
Sean Spencer, she's Burton Guster.
Wait, you didn't make up a name.
So I guess if people know that show, they'll be able to go, oh yeah, I get that. If you don't know the show, which I don't, I'll go and
You gotta
figure
go watch on
You have
Netflix
to
see what
now.
that
watch it
is.
now.
All right. Okay, so independent of your spouse, what's your most important luxury or indulgence that you give yourself?
Go ahead.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Okay.
I think for me, time away.
Yep.
Just I like to go drive and explore. Sometimes to her and the family's detriment. But usually, if I do it by myself, at least I'm only risking one life.
Right.
So
Right.
Likes to go 4-wheeling in four-wheeling vehicles.
So you just like to get out in nature and just kind of drive around and
Exactly.
nice.
Yep.
Very good. I think people underestimate the value of personal indulgence, personal time to recharge your own batteries when we're constantly, either giving, or trying to charge off of other people. We're not able to give all that we can. So I think that's very powerful. All right. What's your favorite book or resource to help you in your business?
There's so many, but I think the number one book would be How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, great book.
I would say that's the same for me, just in general.
Yeah, right? There's a finesse and a skill to being the spouse of an entrepreneur, is there not?
A lot.
I don't say I have that, but I can try.
But that's why you're reading the book.
Yeah, over and over.
All right, an ideal day with your spouse is fill in the blank.
No kids.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's for me at least.
Sure.
Time alone with her.
I like to get time alone. Like we had time alone this morning, and that was wonderful. But I like to go do things together as a family too, relaxing things, go for walks, hikes.
But together as a spouse.
As a spouse.
Yeah.
And a deal, going everywhere,
Nice.
Just being together.
Awesome.
Yep.
What is your superpower?
I don't know if it's much of a superpower, but I'd say just faith, like persistence.
Yeah.
Just never giving up. It's kind of like Kung Fu Panda,
Right.
You just kind of get kicked down those steps, just keep coming back up again.
Your references don't tell at all that you have 4 kids or 5
Not
kids.
at all.
Not at all. They don't show that. So.
Nope.
All right. What about you, Lindsey?
I am just a superhero, aren't I? Like
Just in
I'm
general.
Supermom.
You're super mom.
No.
Is OCD a superpower?
OCD, yeah.
OCD is your superpower.
She's obsessive compulsive for sure.
No, not completely, but yes.
I'm not completely obsessive compulsive. I am a perfectionist, but I am completely okay. I got it.
But let me clarify that statement more.
That is funny. All right. What is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten about marriage?
Just do it. I don't know.
Again, it goes back to the Hinckleys. There's a quote that he says, always have the needs of your spouse above your own. And you do need to have things for yourself, but
Right.
There's a lot being said to making sure they're okay before you go out on your own and take care of your needs. Like he'll make sure that things are in order before make sure breakfast is done before he goes out for the day. And that really helps me with the kids.
Right.
And things like that, just the little things that really make things easier.
I personally don't agree with that statement.
Okay.
But that's just me. I've noticed that if I don't take care of my own needs first, I tend to be a worse husband and father. I tend to bark a lot more and get angry and upset a lot more.
Sure.
But the one thing I think that would be a common ground there that I do agree with is something I learned from, do you know Dr. Paul Jenkins?
Oh, yeah. He's actually going to be a guest on our show coming up.
Oh, awesome. So there's a preview for him.
Yep.
I remember we listened to his radio show several years back, and I remember him saying that to make a marriage work really well, it's don't look at it as a 50-50 partnership, and definitely don't look at it as a 100-0 partnership. Don't take full responsibility, but it's more like a 95-5. So each spouse looks at their responsibility as being 95% their responsibility. Still 5% the other spouse, but taking that 95% responsibility, that's 50-50 to come halfway and say, well, I went my halfway, I'm done. It's like, no, how can I take full control and responsibility of the relationship as much as I can?
Right.
And then, and allow some leniency there. And I know as we started to do that we were actually going through a little bit tough time in our marriage at that time. Once I started doing that more, things got a lot better.
Yeah. How do you become responsible for you fully? Like, how do you show up 100% there, or even the 95%, to make sure that you are both, and you can't pull the other person along. You have to just be there for you. And this came up as a theme in a previous interview, was just because the other person isn't showing up that way doesn't give you the right to not show up that way.
Right.
So that's awesome. Very good. Okay. The last question is kind of a bit morbid, but stay with me, and then we'll see how good it gets. One common denominator everybody in the world has is that one day, eventually, in the very, very, very far future, we will all die.
Yep.
Someone is going to be asked to give your eulogy, but you've been smart enough to pre-write it for them. Who is that person that you asked to give you your eulogy, and what is the most important lesson you want to leave for everyone in life?
I would probably have Jason Hewlett do my eulogy personally.
That would be fun. Yeah.
Just because I think that would be the way I would want it. I think the big thing I would want him to say, though, is definitely it's about really what are we here to do right now? Like, we can't change the past. We can't really know what our future is, but what can we do in the present right now to make things better? And how can we create more of a legacy? And, the thing I'd love to have said at my funeral is that, Chris was known as a guy that was always there to serve everybody that he could come in contact with. He touched everybody's lives in one way, shape, or form, even if just a small way. I think that for me would be huge.
Well, that's the brilliance of this question is you got to write that, so he'd have to read what you wrote. So
Exactly.
You can have him say
he
that.
He can make faces doing it. I'm cool with that.
That's right. All right, Lindsey, what about you?
Is this other than your spouse giving it?
It could be your spouse give it. I'm assuming that Chris will be in a ball and puddle of tears at the time, so I don't know if he'd be the best person to give it. But yes, you could choose Chris.
Why are you laughing?
Chris is a Vulcan. He doesn't.
I don't have feelings, Captain.
No, I'd have Chris do it because he would say hopefully everything from his heart, and he knows me best. He knows I would want service would be a main focus, and I would want to have been about doing good, basically, and for everyone to do the same. Go out and do good.
Awesome. Go out and do good. That's a great lesson for everybody. Just, when things are in any type of life, things just go out and do good. I often tell people if they're struggling in their relationship, they're struggling in themselves, go serve and it will change your perspective.
Absolutely.
So Chris, before we end, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you and maybe some last bit parting pieces of advice, and let's go from there.
You bet. Great way to get hold of me. You can check out my website, moneyripples.com. I've got lots of free content and stuff on there. A nice ebook called Beyond Rice and Beans. 7 Secrets to Free Up Cash Today. You can also reach out on Facebook. I've got a Money Ripples page. I've got my own page. Love connecting with people on there.
Sweet.
And final message. I guess just when it comes to marriage, there's nothing in our lives that doesn't spill over into other aspects of our lives. If things are going horrible with your health, it's going to spill over into your business as well as your money and your relationships and everything. And so things aren't going well in your marriage, it's going to affect also your business too and everything else. And so really just focusing on trying to make sure that you don't ignore any of those areas of your life, that you try to excel in every way, shape, or form.
Awesome. Very good. Lindsey, what about you? And last words of advice?
Always strive to make your spouse happy. Not at your own detriment, but always strive to make sure you're not out to hurt them, but to help them.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, you guys, you're so much fun. Always a ball of laughter. I love talking to you guys. And I so appreciate your time. All of our listeners appreciate your time. And definitely more information and how to get a hold of Chris specifically are going to be on the show notes on the site. And we just really appreciate you guys spending your time with us. And on that note, we will say goodbye and best of luck. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Thanks,
See you then.
Dino.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Helping you learn from others who have gone before you in this entrepreneurial and marriage journey. Thanks for listening to The Business of Marriage, marriage advice for entrepreneurs. We'll see you on the next episode. Come join the fun over on Facebook and at our website at thebizofmarriage.com. We'll see you on the next show. I know you're bummed, but it has to end sometime. I hope you got the great value that we are trying to provide for you here on the Business of Marriage, marriage advice for entrepreneurs. Don't forget to subscribe to our show, and we'll see you on the next one. As the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Business of Marriage, marriage advice for entrepreneurs. Don't forget to join us at thebizofmarriage.com to get more great information, blog posts, and videos that you can share with your friends and family. Don't forget, working on your marriage is an income-producing activity. We'll see you next time.